I'm here today with a talented and creative composer, arranger, producer, and performer with numerous albums to his credit, all the way from Denmark, the versatile pianist Søren Bebe. Welcome.
Thank you so much, Stefan. Thank you.
So when I looked you up, I mean, I didn't go through the links that you had supplied. I like to just do research. And when I
Yeah.
first looked you up, I found your ballet etudes. I'm going to call them etudes, but I know they're not practice for the piano. It's more the music for practicing ballet. And I found those first, and I
Exactly.
thought, is this Soren? This is his claim to fame is doing professional and more adolescent ballet music. And I was listening and said it's quite
Yeah.
proficient. It's very technical, but it's not
Mhm.
really for the solo listener. The audience is very much focused to people that are doing practice. It had a
Yeah.
flow. Like I actually listened to at least six or seven pieces just to see if there was
Mhm.
something interesting to
Yeah.
them, and they have a flow. I could hear all of the movements. I have a couple of colleagues that do ballet, and I know for a fact if I
Yeah.
introduce them to this music, they say, "Oh yes, that's perfect for the classes. We can take that in. We can use that in the classes for sure." But I thought, how is it possible that this is what I'm going to be interviewing, an individual who does this? And then I found the rest of you, and I went, "Oh, there's Soren Bibi. There's the music that I wanted to hear," because
Yeah.
it blew me away. You went from being technically adept to suddenly being
Mhm.
almost what I would call improvisational. Um,
Yeah. Yeah.
the music you have now, I know you quoted some of your individual, the people that influence you, Oscar Peterson, and I appreciate that being Canadian.
Yeah.
Thank you very
Yeah.
much for him
Yeah.
being
Yeah.
one of your
That's the
muses.
bare truth.
Keith Jarrett, I've listened to his music, and you do have qualities of Keith's that I've listened to. Tord and Esbjorn. So those two individuals I've never heard of before, but listening to their music, I can understand why they influenced you because, again,
Mhm. Mhm.
I see stylings in your music that mirrors and has influences from their music. Uh, but you
Yeah.
have a
Yeah.
style all your own. And what I've noticed about it,
Thank
one
you.
of the people that I linked to you that I didn't see in your music is George Winston.
Ah.
Especially, I listened to your second album from out here, and
Mhm.
I heard George Winston. I heard the same deep, melodic, sort of thought-provoking music that George Winston produces. And if you haven't heard of him,
Mhm.
play some of his music, Winter into Spring. Listen to that album, and you'll say, "Ah, yeah, that's me. That's me playing that. I play just like this. This is me," because his music is thought-provoking. It's almost a sort of a solitary introspection when you listen to the
Ah,
music,
nice.
and yours does the
Yeah.
same thing to me. So
Ah.
what I'd like to know is how you got there. What got you into playing piano, playing that kind of music, as opposed to just following, jazz stylings and Oscar Peterson style of just playing on the piano and just going and riffing. What got you
Yeah.
there? So
Yeah.
start me from the beginning. What introduced you
Yeah.
to music and what brought you to where you are today?
Yeah. That's a good question. And yeah, I guess some of it also, well, like you said, when I started out playing, I was around maybe 9, 10 years old when my parents sent me to a piano teacher. And yeah, she was very strict, and it was all about learning the notes, and and she would sit and bang on the piano for me to keep the beat, And so after little less than a year, I stopped because I thought it was so boring. And then I didn't really touch an instrument for a year or so, and then a friend of mine, he started playing the piano in the local music school, and he said, "Hey, Søren, you gotta come down and meet my teacher because he's really really great, and it could be fun. We could play together." So I went with him down there, and he was right. There was a really really great piano teacher there who was like really good for us young kids, and he played the music that we liked and that we listened to at home. He played a lot of Beatles for us, and a lot of, yeah, lots of different, like, more rhythmic music. And there was and he would show off what he could do on the piano, and we were just like, wow, he's so great. And and it was about, just really much about appreciating music, and like he was really good at like sharing his love of music, and we would start, improvising, and yeah, and so he really got me hooked on the music again, and from there on, there was really no turning back. And
So no, go
yes,
ahead.
that
I'm sorry.
so that was in my so then I really, after some years, I just really got into to playing. Um, and you mentioned Oscar Peterson. I remember I got my first one of my very first vinyl LPs, we say here in Europe, LPs, from my father. It was Oscar Peterson. We Get Requests was the name of the album, and that really hooked me onto the jazz world. And I think I was around 14, 15 years at that time, and especially the bluesy stuff, and it's very the melodic. I mean, Oscar Peterson, and of course the technical aspect of it, of course, really
Yes.
got me. You know, being a young guy, I was really into playing fast, and I also really like Chick Corea, and yeah, a lot of other other artists. And so I really got really started listening to jazz, and really loved the language of jazz, and bebop, and started improvising more and more. And I remember back then playing a concert. Maybe I was 16 or 17. We had a band, and we played concerts around town. And I remember one incident there where I was playing my keyboard, and I had a solo. Um, I can't exactly remember the tune, but I just remember that it was maybe just four chords going around, and I remember very um, exact this sense of just like escaping into the music, or kind of like forgetting about the chords and forgetting about where I was in the piece, and just going with the flow, and just playing what I heard in my head. And that feeling of like kind of getting lost in the music, that just really, really talked to me. I mean, that was like an, what do you say, that epiphany? How do you say that? That was like
That's
this.
that's
It
exactly it.
really,
Yeah.
planted a seed in me. Like this is what I want to do. I mean, this really speaks to me. And so I guess I've kind of been chasing that feeling ever since. And yeah, and then yeah, fast forward to now, it's actually still what I try to do. Like, and I just really like playing slow music, and like really playing music where I'm able to forget about the chords, and forget about the technical aspects of playing, and just listening, and trying to play what I hear in my head. And yeah,
That's
so
that. Sorry,
that
that's
was a
something that I wanted
long.
to ask you about. It's
What was
something
the
that I
question
want.
again?
What I'm When I watched you play, I actually have seen a couple of videos you have actually playing. And the thing is, I enjoy doing that because it gives me my insights into the artist. When I watch
Mhm.
you play, there are occasions when you lower your head and your eyes are shut and you're playing. You're not reading the music in front of you. You're actually just sort of in there. And the first question that comes to mind, I've seen other artists doing the same thing, guitarists
Mhm.
and other
Mhm.
musicians, horn players, and I ask them, where do you go in your head when that happens? Where have you
Mhm.
moved to? Because the sounds that you produce are technically accurate. You're playing the
Mhm.
piano as though, you were actually reading the notes, like you see younger players that are reading every note and knowing where they're supposed to be, and they know where they're supposed to
Mhm.
pick up speed and where they're supposed to slow down and so forth.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
you're doing this with your eyes shut and your head down and just letting your fingers go across the keyboard. And
Mhm.
again, where do you go in your mind? Are you hearing the sound and you're just sort of losing yourself, sort of stepping back and letting the sound flow through you through your fingers to play, or are you thinking and being accurate in your head and thinking, I've got to make this sound as impromptu as possible, but I'm not impromptu. I'm thinking every single note as I play it. So where do you go? What happens?
Yeah, that's a good question also. And I don't think there's one answer because it it's well, I try not to think, but again, that's impossible to do all the time. But in the ideal world, I don't think. And it's like at the same time, you kind of lose yourself, but you're also like really, really focused and concentrated. And mostly I'm listening. I mean, I'm listening to what my team players, what the other players are doing, and listening to which ideas come up in my head, and in the ideal world, I play them after I hear them, or almost simultaneously as I hear them in my head, and sometimes I'm not quite sure, and then I start thinking, oh, maybe that's the note, and there's so many things going on, and it goes in and goes out, but I'll say I'm very much concentrated and listening and forgetting about everything else.
That's so I
And
have a two.
it's funny you mentioned the ballet music because I had for a long period. Uh, I was working as a ballet pianist and I played for ballet classes. And for some of the exercises, you could do this kind of playing, but most of them you really had to like keep your attention outwards and looking at the dancers and paying attention to the teacher and that's one of the reasons I quit after a while because it's not really how I prefer playing the piano. I
More
prefer like
freestyle, less metronomic, because with dancing, it's metronomic specific. It's a certain beat you have to follow. Each note has to get you there. Yeah. So
yeah.
a two-part question related to this
Mhm.
freestyle kind of thing.
Mhm.
For me, your music has this whimsical style to it. It feels very impromptu, but being that you are a composer and an arranger of the music, is your freestyle actual freestyle where your brain just says, "Oh, impromptu, I like this. I like the way, the drummer is going. I'm going to go along with that. I'm going to
Mhm.
flow." Or is it that you've composed it in a way that makes it feel freestyle, but the reason you
Uh,
close your eyes is to make that concentration of, I've got to keep it feeling freestyle. I know what notes are
yeah,
coming
yeah,
next,
yeah, yeah,
but I want to get to those in a way that looks like I've just thought of them 5 seconds ago. Which
yeah,
way,
yeah,
and I know I'm sure that every song is different, but
yeah.
do you compose with structure or do you compose with the allowance for whatever happens, happens, let's go?
Yeah. I do both, but I would say most of my compositions are very much like rooted in the jazz, like what do you say, the jazz like tradition. So it's I compose a melody. I com I usually have some chords going along with the melody. So and maybe I have some ideas for how the song should start, and maybe I have a few ideas for how the drums should play. But but usually we find that out in the when rehearsing, and then from there on, it's everything is just like yeah, freely and very much improvised. But of course, the melody kind of set and the harmonies also sets the mood of the song. But but a lot of improvisation, really.
Oh,
Yeah.
excellent. So the second part to the question is, I've listened to, like I said, I've listened to a number of your songs, and I find that some
Mhm.
of them almost feel like, for me, an analogy of music is sitting at a nice quiet coffee table and having a conversation. Music is a conversation between the artist and the listeners. And
Mhm.
for me, some of your songs feel like I'm walking in on the conversation. It doesn't start
Mhm.
the way a lot of pieces do, where there's an intro melody that comes in, and then you get into the body of the music, and then you finish off with this denouement piece that allows it to close. everything has this beginning, middle, end structure to it. Yours, there are pieces that I started to listen to and I said, wait, did I miss the beginning? And I started again thinking I've missed something. But it's this beautiful way of, it's kind of, we were in the middle of a conversation, come on, sit down and listen, and you immediately get engaged. When you hear the song, you just suddenly, oh, I am part of the conversation. I can sit and listen. I haven't missed anything. And you get pulled into it. And then they finish off either in a way that sounds like the person who's listening steps away from the conversation. It keeps going. And it's almost as if it didn't end, but I'm going to take a stroll, get another drink, come back and sit down at the table for the next song. Is this something you planned, or is this something that just happened when you were doing practicing, thinking, you know what, I just want to start it this way. I'm going to start playing like this. We're right into
Yeah,
the song as opposed to every song has an intro.
hmm yeah. Again, I'll say it's both ways, but usually, I mean, I think about variation. I try to think about variation, and especially when we're doing an album, but also when we're doing a concert. I like, yeah, I like to think about variation. Yeah, I've said it a few times now. But so if the first song starts with a long introduction only on the bass, maybe the next song should start just piano right on, and the next one, the drums maybe set that up. So it's like, yeah, to keep it interesting. I think that's
So for you, the composition is the entire body of work and not each individual piece. So if you're doing a concert and there's, say, 10 songs going to be played during the concert, you're not
yeah.
thinking of this song has to begin and end. This song has to begin and end. You're thinking, we're going to introduce the audience to us with the first song, get right into it, and
Yeah,
different
yeah.
people in the band, people in the trio will start off to get us
hmm
going into the next piece, into the next piece. So, like you say, it
Yeah,
could be you, it could be the drummer, it could be your bassist that bring it in
yeah,
to the next piece. And it's
yeah, yeah.
not entirely structured, but it is. I'm sure that you
hmm
have that mechanism in your head that says, "This is our next one. Let's go. This is our next
Yeah,
one.
yeah,
Let's
yeah,
go."
exactly. Yeah, 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 yeah. So, yeah, we definitely think both a concert and an album like a whole, and also, and that's one of the things I love about like jazz music and improvised music is that, I mean, also in the studio you can do it, but especially on the, I mean, playing a concert. I mean, you are allowed to chip in with something, you, and both my drummer and my bass player. I mean, we have this mutual agreement that everybody is allowed to, if they get an idea. I mean, they can. Although we plan something else, if you just really feel the urge to do something, you're allowed to do that.
That's fantastic. And the audience, I'm sure, appreciates it. I know when I'm listening to the music, the problem is that there's no venue yet that I've found unless I actually get the physical CD or album LP
Mhm,
that
mhm.
allows me to continuously play each one next to next without commercials bouncing in as the usual
Uh,
media does.
uh,
For me, it's I love the structure that it you have that intro, the first song, I get that nice intro and I go, oh, okay, I know where I'm headed. And then all of a sudden the next song just sort of drops me in. And as I say, it feels like I'm walking to another table and a conversation's already in play and I'm just getting involved in it. And then I get up and I move over and suddenly there's this very quiet conversation going and I walk over and I begin to hear it and then I get engaged in that
I like that
conversation.
analogy.
And I really enjoy that in a style of music to have again and again and again, intro, body, and the end. You kind of feel like you have to sit through the whole piece. You have to sit through because it's the intro first, and you have to get involved in the intro, and then you get all the way to the end. But yours sort of jolts you in, jumps you into new conversations, new pieces, and it's nothing's the same. You're not on a roller coaster of an emotional expression through music. You get thrown in. The beginning piece brings you in, you go, oh, it's going to be really, and then, oh, this is really good. I like this. Oh, this is really good. Um, and I appreciate that in the music in your albums that I finally got a chance to listen to after going through all of the etudes, the ballet etudes, that
Thank
I
you.
found this and I went, there it is. This
Yeah.
is a style of music I really appreciate. And I'm glad that that's the tack that you take because if you had followed other people's works that are very similar, you'd be glommed into a group of a body of musicians that play a specific style. You have a unique style. And I think anybody who listens to you knows that. They'd say, oh, that's Søren. I know that style. I know you'd listen to two songs. It wouldn't happen, I don't think, in the first song, because the first song you'd get glimmers of different artists. And you'd say, is that Keith? Is that Oscar? Is that George? Oh, no, it's
Yeah, yeah,
Søren. When they hit the
yeah,
second song, get thrown into the piece, they, oh, okay, that is Søren. I see that because the way we're making transitions unique. So
yeah.
now that I know you are a composer, you are an arranger, you are a producer, you are a performer, and you do enjoy performing, but what's your favorite? Of all of those, what is your favorite? Where do you gravitate to when you're having a bad day and you know what, I just want to do this? Which is your favorite? Which is the thing that you get the most satisfaction from?
Hmm. Ah, that's a good question. That's a tough one because I want to say the combination. One of the things I really like about being a musician, and I think also drew me to it from the first time is the what do you say, versatility? Is that a word? I mean, the
Yeah,
thing that
versatility. Yeah.
there's no 2 days that are the same. Um, and But if I have to pick one, I'm a very introspective, and I think also what drew me to the piano in the first place is the ability to produce all notes yourself. You mean, and it's very, you have the whole register on the piano, and I really just and always loved just like sitting at the piano and just being myself and like absorbed in the music, and I still really enjoy that. But if I didn't get out once in a while, I'd probably also go crazy or really be bored in my own company. But
So do you prefer performing live, doing live performance to an audience, or do you prefer studio work where you can perfect what it is that you're working with? Which one, again, I'm asking you a pick, which one is better, do you think, for you?
yeah, I like performing, I will say, because I also like going out and meeting the people. And there's some things, I mean, like you can see, I'm in my small home studio here, and I can record here, and I did a lot of recordings here also. But the thing that's really difficult to like reproduce here is the setting yourself up for it, and also the sometimes when you perform, you get like uh, uh, you get you get nervous. I mean, or you get but not and but it doesn't have to be a bad thing. I mean, it also like alerts you and keeps you on your toes, and also I found that it also helps you access something deeper inside you. I mean, it kind of that state gives you access to some um, inspiration and some other rooms or like connections that is really really hard to get when you just sit at home with yourself. And that's, I mean, I don't know what it is, if it's the audience or like the collective, or it's like the adrenaline, or but it's just the fact that you play a lot better on a in a concert, or it's yeah, I enjoy that a lot. Does it make any sense if it's
No, it absolutely does make sense because of the number of artists that I've spoken to over the past years. I would say that they all agree that the energy they get from a live audience
Mhm,
defines some of the musical talent that they put forward that they can't
mhm.
replicate on their own. When they're by themselves,
Yeah.
there's nothing that's actually driving that inner voice. It's being
Mhm,
pulled
mhm,
as opposed to being pushed. When you're with an audience, the audience pushes you. You
exactly.
see in their eyes, or you hear in their applause, or you hear in their commentary that they go, ooh, ah, you hear that. it suddenly challenges you to rise to the occasion and make them do that more. I want
Yeah.
to make more, make them push energy at me more. But when you're
Mhm.
sitting by
Mhm.
yourself, there's nothing that challenges you. It's you challenging
No,
you,
exactly.
and
Yeah, yeah.
everybody, as they said, they're their worst critic. So instead of
Mhm.
challenging, they
Mhm.
denigrate. They, come on, you can do better than that. What's the matter with you? Play it better. No, play. And that's not a
Yeah, yeah,
challenge.
yeah,
That's sort of like you're fighting with yourself to make music, and it
yeah,
sounds
yeah, yeah,
angry, but
yeah,
with an audience it's like love. It's like sharing love with a huge number of people. And every
yeah.
note you play generates this emotion that within you grows, builds more and
Yeah,
more. It's kind of like you give me, I give you some more. You give me, I give you some more.
yeah,
Your nerves, you talk about the nerves and the adrenaline rush, and it's very possible that that's your method of dealing with nerves. You may come out going, ooh, and then as soon as you sit in front of the piano, you feel it. And the adrenaline kicks in, and you go, yeah, I can just go. I'm
yeah,
just going
yeah,
to see what happens. But where do you get adrenaline? Where do you get nerves when you're sitting in a room by yourself? I mean, you could be sitting in your pajamas. You're
yeah.
not worried. What's going to happen? Somebody walks in with a sandwich maybe, and you're going, oh, okay, I'm in my pajamas. What?
Yeah.
But so apart from playing the piano, have you ever looked at or thought about playing another instrument? Is there a mistress to your wife, the piano? Is there some other instrument that you've looked at and thought, I could do this? I could probably, or that you do actually on occasion step away from the piano and pick this instrument up and play it occasionally just for your own benefit, not for any other purpose?
Yeah, I actually I don't play other instruments really, but I think I used to. I mean, like I said before, when I started playing and I started in the local music school, I think within 2 3 years I was playing both the piano and the bass and the guitar and drums and singing a little and playing in the band and I did that for some years. But then I realized I don't have time to learn to learn all these instruments, so I went back to just the piano. But I did have a little, you know, played a little and everything back then, but not now. No, don't really do that. But I appreciate them.
So you don't have a guitar in your other room that you, every once in a while you're thinking, but you can't think of what it is in piano and you sit down and you strum the guitar, but you go, oh, there's the notes. That's what I was looking for. And then go back to the piano and play it out. There's
Yeah, no, I
nothing.
have a couple of guitars actually in the house, but I mostly played them when the kids were younger, and
Ah, okay. Okay. So
but
your
no, what
is your
was
family
this?
musical? Are your children musical in any way? Have they taken up dad's profession?
Not in a like a professional way. I think they have uh, they have they have my appreciation for music. I mean, I have three girls, and they're all three like music lovers, big time. And the youngest plays a little piano now, and the two older also played some piano at a point, but not to the fact. No, they didn't really
They didn't
got
get the
into
bug
it
like
the
you
way that I
did.
did. They have their own stuff. They are
Kids are
horse
kids.
riding. That's their thing.
So, do you write for other musicians apart from yourself? Do you write music?
Mhm,
Do you compose music for other musicians? That's part one to the question. The part two, which is more
mhm.
difficult, do you write
Yeah.
in their style or do you write in your own? And by that, I mean, if you write for another musician, they have their own way of doing something, be it a singer or
Mhm.
another player of a different instrument. They have a way of playing. Do you listen to how they play and then write for that style? Or do you impose your style of music on what they're looking for and see if they'll adapt to you? So there's a two-part
Yeah,
question.
yeah, but I actually never wrote for anyone else but myself. I'm trying to remember if I maybe did one piece at some time, but not really. I mostly, I mean, I think I have plenty to do just writing for my own band and for the piano but of course, when I write music for the trio, I have my band members in mind. Um, because we played together for so long now, so I know what they sound like and what they, yeah, like to play, and so I definitely keep them in mind. But I never really written music for anyone else,
Oh,
and
really? So you've not
yeah,
thought of doing that? You've not thought of reaching out to other artists and saying, "Hey, can I do something?" or collaborating? Because I know in your write-up you have collaborated with other bands, with other musicians. Is that
yeah, I have.
collaboration
Yeah.
solely on a playing purpose of their music?
Um, it's yeah, we've done it a few times, and it's always been like a mix. So everybody brings a few tunes, and we mix it all up and see what comes out.
Okay, okay.
But yeah, but let's see. Maybe down the line, could be fun.
But I mean, your stylings, I can see how they could be adapted, and other artists taking some of that music and applying it to something that they do. Singers in particular, I know, are looking for
Mhm.
that beat, that music, that tone that allows
Mm.
them to carry something forward. And I'm sure you've listened to some singers and heard their music and gone, that could have sounded so much better if. And I guess there's a question there, which is, have you listened to some artists, current ones, or even ones in the past, that you've listened to the music and thought, I could do that better. I've got a tweak. I've got a thing that if they did this, it would sound so much better. Have you done that?
Not really like that, but I've listened I've listened a lot to. I mean, I tend to find something that I really like, and then I listen to that over and over again, and then I'm more thinking I'd really like to do something that sounds
Ah, okay. So
as
what
good as
artists,
that.
which ones are you referring to?
But
Who have you listened to that's that gives you inspiration to do something like them?
yeah, I'm not sure if you know them, but I've like we just recorded a new album, and leading up to that, I mean, composing the music for that, I think for the last year. So I've really listened a lot to a Norwegian saxophone player called Mette Henriette. She's
Okay, can you? I'm going to write this down because I'm going to look them up. How do you spell that?
so Mette, that's Mette,
Okay.
and Henriette, Henriette, that's Henriette.
Okay. And he's a saxophonist.
It's a girl. She's a
Oh,
saxophone
she.
player
Okay.
who's recording on the ECM label. Done 2 albums there.
Okay. I'm going to actually look her up because
Yeah, and her
I
album
have eclectic tastes.
that's saxophone and piano and cello, so a little different. But um, but she's one that I've really listened on, like on repeat, like daily almost, and it's not that it's not, I'm not trying to like copy something, but I like when something like it sinks in, and I mean it starts showing in your own playing after a while. And I think one of the things I really like about her music is it's also like really slow, and um but the thing I really like, I think, is, I mean, there's music and then there's sound, and I really, I've thought about this like when we're in the studio here. I just really like, sound. Like it just, I mean, the bass just playing like one long note with the bow, and I mean that of course that's music, but it's also just the sound of the bass that just sounds like really nice. Or my drummer here, um, he's Norwegian, um, and he also has the same appreciation of sound. I mean, he really thinks about how his cymbals sound and how the drum sounds, and he alters the sound on his drums all the time, like putting stuff on them and like um, maybe some clothing or some he will take his keys, and put them on a drum, and that alters the sounds a little. And I just really like sound. I don't know how to say it, like, but I mean, he can hit his cymbal, and I really just like that sound. I don't always need a lot more than that.
No, that
So
makes perfect sense. There's a movie actually made several years ago, August Rush, where a child prodigy lives exactly like that. He hears sound, but hears
mhm.
it as music. And it's natural
Mm.
sounds like rain or a car horn
Yeah,
or
yeah,
splashing
yeah,
or the leaves moving in the wind.
yeah,
And it all
yeah,
comes together as music. And
yeah,
it's a natural music. It's the music, if you want, it's the Gaian music. It's the music of the
yeah,
world. And you have that appreciation, which is probably how you play with your eyes shut and your head down, is an appreciation of the
yeah,
sounds merging and combining and becoming something. And you take cues from it. You'll hear the drum, you hear the
yeah,
keys go jingle, jingle on his
yeah,
drum,
yeah,
and you'll think, oh, wait, this. And the music comes from you as an interpretation of what you're hearing and moving it forward.
yeah. There's definitely something about playing like really slow music that I like to do, and not all the time, but a lot of the time is that you have there's time for listening to the sounds, and also if you strike a cymbal, or you strike also even a note on the keyboard, that's a sound when you strike it, but the sound also like evolves. And I like when there's time to hear that. And again, and also I remember, starting out playing the piano, you just played in one time, or in one way. And I remember at one time, I think I was in my 20s, and I started for the first time like taking some classical lessons with a like classical pianist. And I remember just like that, opening up that like total different world, and feeling almost like I couldn't play the piano at all, because now suddenly I was introduced to, I mean, if you play the key this way, it sounds like this, but you can also play it this way, and then it sounds like this. And and also like the pedal, you can use that in five different ways. And I was just like, I thought it was just like
One note.
playing the piano, but no,
Yeah.
you can do that in so many different ways.
It's almost like you've
And when you
learned.
listen to pianists, I mean, if you listen to, I don't know, Bill Evans or McCoy Tyner, or you know um, Chicoria, and you can immediately hear who they are when they just hit almost like one or two notes, and I think that's quite interesting.
It's 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 it is emotion evoking, I think is a good way to describe, because
Hmm.
I have
Hmm.
heard people, even Keith Jarrett plays that way, that you hear it like he's got technical skills, he's playing notes, and you hear the notes and you're
Hmm.
thinking, oh, I can go along with the notes. And then he sort of does a change up where
Hmm.
he's sort of playing the same notes, but you're hearing them entirely differently because he's playing
Yeah.
them differently. They're the same keys, but a different sound is being brought forward from it. And it's almost as if
Okay.
he's opened up the piano to being something more than a typewriter that's putting out words. It suddenly
Yeah.
becomes
Yeah.
this evocative experience
Yeah.
of
Yeah.
sound. And to what you had said, sound is what drives this whole thing. It's not just
Hmm.
notes, it's not just music. It is a collaboration of sounds that evolve
Hmm.
together into something that just makes your head explode.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I've
Exactly.
noticed you have that skill when you get very impromptu, as I noticed that you do have some classical background because I watch how you play, but it is so natural. I was almost going to ask you, what hand do you use more, right or left? But then when I watched you play, both of them have this very subtle way of drifting across the keys and making those sounds appear. And I watch it and I go, are you actually
Well,
playing, or
thanks a lot.
is this like those guys who do the lip syncing? Is this finger syncing that the sound is coming from somewhere else and you're just sort of drifting across the keys that magically almost not touching them? And watching that is an experience in itself. If people could see that while listening to the music, they'd be lost because they'd be watching and going, how is he making that sound? That doesn't, they don't map. That doesn't seem to work together.
Well, thanks a lot. I, I definitely play a lot more with my right hand. I wish my left hand was as good as my right hand, but I'm
Well,
working on it.
I almost, when I was listening to some of your work here earlier and some of the etudes, I thought, are you left-handed? Because your left hand was playing more of the keys than your right. Your right was sort of drifting along, and your left hand was playing. And then I watched you play, and I went, no, 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 no. He can't be left-handed because the right hand is so relaxed and drifting around that it must be the dominant because of the way it almost. I don't need to work at this. And the left hand is going, I have to keep up. I have to keep up. But it works really well together. It's not as if you're struggling with the left hand. I know you're improving the left hand to make it flow as easily and naturally as your right hand does across the keys. And as I
I
said,
try.
it would
I
be
still
really nice
practice
for an
my
audience to
etudes.
see that. Yeah. So let's see. I've got a few more questions here. Um, do you have a favorite song that it comes from the plethora of songs that you've put together, that you've put out there? Do you have one that is a favorite, or one that runs in your head from time to time that your brain just falls back to, and it sort of plays off in your head when you're doing something else, sort of to keep your brain entertained while, let's say, you're washing dishes or you're making dinner or you're sweeping the driveway or something, that it's one that you just naturally fall back to. Is there one like that for you, a favorite or one that you just naturally fall into?
Ooh, that's a good question. No, no, there's not one song that like keeps popping up. Um, but very no, it really differs. But I mean, if when I like working in like periods. How do you say that? I mean, so composing for a new album, I'm very much in composing mode, and
Right.
I try to compose a little every day, just for a couple of hours, and then I definitely have those songs going on in my head for the rest of the day, and sometimes when I come back to the piano the next day, I will have something will have happened during the day or night that evolves the piece, and I know what to write next on that piece. Um, but I think, I mean, of my own songs, one of the songs that I really been most proud of, and that usually that maybe comes up most often, I would say, is from our latest, or not the album before the last one. Is the album is called Here Now. There's one song on there that's called Grateful that there's something about that I really I really liked and I was really proud of, even though it's a very very simple kind of motive. That's just
I'm going to jot that one down because I want to listen to that one
yeah.
again just to see if it becomes an earworm for me. So that's from your second last album, and it's
Yeah,
Here Now is the song.
the album is called Here Now, and the song is called Grateful.
Oh, okay.
Grateful, yeah,
Grateful.
yeah. And it's funny because I got an email maybe half a year ago from a Japanese uh, like a record label, and they were doing this. As I think it's very much a Japanese thing. They like doing these like compilation albums they send out, and they emailed me and said that and asked if they could take that song and put on the album because yeah, so I guess they had some kind of appreciation for it as well, and that made me really really happy because it's not. I don't think it's like really a radio friendly song of it is, but it's not like a typical jazz song. It's more like introspective, I guess you could say.
Well, then definitely
But
I
so
have to
that's
listen to
coming
it again.
on.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah,
But that's really good to have an entirely different genre and culture reach out to you about a song that you've done that had a specific meaning for you, and they take it because it has a specific resonance to them and their
Yeah, yeah,
culture, and
yeah.
they're saying, "Yeah, we
It
want
was.
this in our compilation album." That
Yeah,
would be,
yeah, yeah.
you know, what other songs are on that album?
No, I don't know yet. I'm waiting for them to finish it and send it to me so I can see
Oh, that'd be
what
fantastic
they pick.
because
That'd be
then
really
you,
interesting.
yeah, you'd see, what are you putting my music with? I want to hear what else
Yeah,
goes on that. And then
yeah,
you'd say, oh, okay, that works.
yeah,
Or it's so eclectic, I don't even know how I fit in here. I mean, really.
yeah. That'd be kind of that'll be a surprise.
But I mean, you can put it on your wall. You can say, hey, look, I'm on an international compilation. There you go.
Yeah,
Yay.
yeah.
So I have a question about one of the recording labels that I think it's yours. Your second
Mhm,
album, From Out Here,
mhm.
becomes a recording label for you.
Yeah,
And the
yeah,
fourth album, I think, and onward, you're using From Out Here, which is a recording label. Is it
yeah.
your recording label?
It is my recording label. Yeah, it's called the From Out Here Music, and you're
Ah,
absolutely right. It has taken its name from from the second album, which was called From Out Here. And
yes.
yeah, it's I mean, besides from the music, I really like doing. I mean, keeping control of everything myself, or maybe that's the wrong word, but in the beginning when we released, I would write to all these labels, and the very first, the two first or three first albums also were released on some small jazz labels, and but yeah, after a while, I realized that, I mean, they didn't really do anything to to help us get the music out there. They just, I mean, it's oh, that's not quite true. One of them were really helpful in doing a lot, but they closed after some years, unfortunately. But but then I realized, why don't I just do this myself? And I made my own record label, and I've been releasing all of our albums since then on my own album, on my own
Wow.
label. Yeah, it's called From Out Here Music. But yeah, and now yeah, it's a lot of work, but it's also really fun to, and yeah, and in this world where, I mean, there's, with the streaming and radios and all that, there's really a lot of things you can do yourself now, and that's, I'm kind of trying to take advantage of that. And yeah,
Well, I noticed looking at the album production, you have some mastering individuals, two individuals that help you with mastering. So do they work
hmm
full time, or do you bring them in when you finish an album and you have them assist you with the mastering?
yeah, yeah, they're definitely just assisting me. I don't really have uh, any full-time employees. I have a few, like, I have my first part-time employee that I had last year, and but she helps me mostly with, like, uh, the labeling and packing CDs and vinyls and shipping out and into the world. And but then besides her, it's everybody is like, yeah, from project to project, and yeah, and especially the engineers. I mean, they work all the time on a lot of different things. But I have, like you said, I have a few that I really like using, and I like using the same, like, over and over again, when I like, when we get a good connection and they understand the music. And of course, I mean, if it works, why fix it?
Well, exactly. I mean, the people that you work with that have produced the album subsequent to From Out Here, that are done through From Out Here, the
Mhm.
mastering engineers that you've got seem to have the same ear that you do.
Yeah,
That
yeah,
they are
definitely.
hearing what you're hearing. They're putting out what
Yeah,
you want the sound to be like, which is what you're looking for. You
exactly.
don't want somebody who masters in a way that you listen to the final product and you're saying, why did you muffle that? Why is that down? Why,
Exactly.
why is the
Yeah.
Foley changed so that I can only hear the keys here and then only the drum there? That doesn't make sense to
Mhm.
me. And the sound concatenation as opposed to
Yeah.
this consolidation of sounds that you're looking for, you've found
Yeah.
the people that work well for you. So I would say to you, don't change them out. Even if they get too old, get them hearing aids and get them vacuumed.
I kind of shuffle them up once in a while. Then one do the mixing and another one do the mastering, and next time maybe it's the other way around. But it's funny because I mean, talking about sound and I mean this kind of music, I just realized now that I mean the actual sound of the recording and the CD or whatever it is. I mean, it's really, really, really important, especially in this. I mean, it's always important, but especially in this kind of music where you can just hear everything.
Yeah.
And it's definitely one of the things that I really, I mean, I don't, I don't. How do you say that in Denmark? We say spare. I don't. I mean, I really this is an area where I really focus and spend a lot of attention and money, getting the sound as good as possible.
Well,
Also
it's a
because I
sound that
know, I mean, I've learned my audience over the years. I mean, I learn more and more about my audience, and I email a lot with my audience, and I know that one of the things they really, really appreciate is like good sound and good quality in the music and in the vinyl production and CD production and everything. So it's something I really, really try to like do as best as as I can.
Well, I will be one of the audience that tells you that you have done a phenomenal job. I listen
Thank
to
you.
the sounds that come out, the mastering and the engineering that's gone into the music so that it doesn't sound like a collection of sounds. It actually sounds like a beautiful compilation of notes, of sounds that come together to make music that is irresistible to listen to.
Yeah. Thank
And
you very
on
much.
that note,
Kind of you.
right now, from your album First Song, here is the Søren Baby song trio with evening song. Enjoy. I'm back, and I want to thank you, Søren, for coming on today, sharing some of your insights into your music. It's been an absolute pleasure. I have enjoyed listening to all of your music, including the ballet etudes, now that I know that that's just a small portion of your work and not the creative side of you where you indulge that combination of sound and music together to create what you create. I really, really appreciate your sound. I'm looking forward to your next endeavors. I hope to see some new work come out from you and see what you come up with. Hopefully you'll work with somebody new and write for them, and I'll get to see that side of you, how you impose your creativity on someone else, maybe even with Mette Henrietta. You may work with her and create sound for her. Who knows?
Yeah, who knows? She's
But
definitely
thank you
one of
very
the
much for
people
coming
I thought
on.
about contacting.
You could
But
produce her
thank you
album.
so much. Thank you so much, Stefan, for having me. It's been such a pleasure, and thank you so much for doing this interview. I hope everybody understood at least some of what I said. And uh,
Oh, you were
sorry for my
your
Tanglish,
accent.
we call it
You
here.
you barely had an accent. I understood everything that you were saying. It's not a problem at all.
You're still very sweet.